Hi Year 2, in today's reading lesson we're going to carry on with our work on the comic strip from the Polar Habitats magazine, and then we're going to read 2 more chapters from A Boy and a Bear in a Boat. Remember, the Viper skill that we're focusing on this week is vocabulary, so our learning objective is to discuss word meanings linking new meanings to those already known. In the last lesson I asked you, what adjectives can you see? Can you remember what an adjective is? So an adjective is a describing word. In the next slide, we'll go through all the adjectives in this part of the comic strip. I've highlighted the adjectives, or the describing words, in yellow. Do you have the same ones? What other adjectives did you find throughout the text? I'm going to read the text now, and I want you to listen and follow the words as I read them. You might like to use your finger as well to point to the word that I'm reading. Going for cold. Can you take us somewhere in your spaceship, Gak? Where do you want to go? We don't mind. We just want to have a nice day. Why have you brought us to the North Pole? I thought you said you wanted to have an ice day. No wonder you told us to dress warmly. Brrr, how do people keep warm here? They make shelters out of snow and ice. Even polar bears do it. All right, let's build an igloo. We just need lots of blocks of snow. It's hard work sticking these blocks together. Yes, I wish we had some glue. That's a great igloo. It looks like you could live in it. Well, it doesn't have a toilet. Maybe we should just call it an ig then. These snow walls block the wind, but how is it so warm? Snow has tiny air pockets, making it a great insulator. It traps our body heat inside, and I can make it even warmer in here. With my alien heat ray, I used it for reheating soup on my home planet. Yikes! Yikes! That wasn't the best idea, Gak. Now we've snowwhere to keep warm again. I'm going to read it again now, but this time I'm going to miss out some words. So I want you to follow on, listen carefully, and when I miss out a word, I want you to say out loud what the word is. Going for cold. Can you take us in your spaceship, Gak? Where do you want to go? We don't mind. We just want to have a nice... Why have you brought us to... I thought you said you wanted to have an ice day. No, you told us to dress warmly. Brrr, how do people keep warm here? They make out of snow and ice. Even polar bears do it. All right, let's build in. We just need lots of snow. It's hard work, these blocks together. Yes, I wish we had some glue. That's a igloo. It looks like you could live in it. Well, it doesn't have a... Maybe we should just call it an ig then. These snow walls block the wind, but how is it so warm? Snow has tiny air pockets, making it a grate. It traps our body heat inside, and I can make it even warmer in here with my alien heat. I used it for soup on my home planet. Yikes! Yikes! That wasn't the best idea, Gak. Now we've snowwhere to keep again. Well done. Now have a go at reading these tricky words. Remember, these are words that we can't sound out with our phonics. Well done. So they say great, even, should, so, said. What is the root word in the word reheating? So it's heat because it has a prefix, re, which means to do again, and a suffix, ing. So the root word is heat. And what spelling rule can you see in the word doesn't? Well done. So it's an apostrophe for a contraction. Instead of writing does not, we've squished them together, got rid of the letter O, put an apostrophe there, and now it says doesn't. Okay, let's do our word aware technique. So remember, it's my turn first and then your turn. So my turn, shelters, your turn. My turn, shelters. My turn, shelters, your turn. My turn, shelters, your turn. How many syllables? That's right, 2. And finally, do your action. Remember, your action could be different to mine. This is my shelter action. It's like a little house. Okay, next one, insulator. 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 Insulator, your turn. Show me on your fingers how many syllables. Insulator, 4 syllables. And now we need to act it. So remember, oh, my house is so well insulated. I am boiling hot. Ooh. Okay, next one, igloo. Igloo, your turn. My turn, igloo, your turn. My turn, igloo, your turn. My turn, igloo, your turn. And now let's do the action. So this is my action for igloo. A nice big round igloo. Next one, alien. 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 Alien, your turn. My turn, alien, your turn. Show me how many syllables. Alien, that's 3. And now the action. Remember, this is my little alien with his antennae. Your action could be different. And the final one, we've got reheating. So to reheat something is to heat it up again. Let's go. Reheating. Reheating. My turn. Your turn. My turn, reheating, your turn. Right, show me the syllables. Reheating, 3. Well done. Now I'd like you to think, could you use these in a sentence? Well done. So we're shortly going to move on to our chili challenges, but before then, let's look at this section of the comic strip where the boy says, "Brrr, how do people keep warm here?" Which word shows that the boy feels cold? Pause the video now. You can write down your answer or discuss it with a grown-up. Well done. So the boy doesn't tell us, "I feel really cold," but we know he feels cold because he goes, "Brrr." You can imagine him shivering as he says it. Here are your chili challenges. For chili 1, complete the sentences by choosing the appropriate word. I'll show you these sentences in the next slide. Chili 2, identify synonyms for the word warm. You can use a thesaurus to help. So synonyms are words that have the same or a similar meaning. So I want you to find words that have the same meaning or a similar meaning to the word warm. I'll show you an online thesaurus in just a moment. And chili 3, I've got a statement here. The alien heat ray was a useful item for them to take to the North Pole. True or false? Justify your answer. So I'd like you to answer true because, and then give me your reason, or false because. Here's chili 1, so you need to choose the appropriate word to complete the sentence. You'll find the information in the text, but the vocabulary is a little bit different. Chili 2, remember, is asking you to use a thesaurus. Now, a thesaurus is a big book, similar to a dictionary, except instead of meanings, when you look up a word, you'll find synonyms, so words that have a similar meaning to that word that you've chosen. If you don't have a thesaurus, then that's fine because there are some online ones as well. So I typed in thesaurus into a search engine and found this one, the Collins Thesaurus. I typed in warm and then I scrolled down and I had loads of synonyms. On the next slide, we'll go through some answers that I found. Here are some synonyms I came up with for warm using a thesaurus. I wonder if you have any of the same. Do you have any others? You can send them in to our Year 2 email address to show us. Right guys, I'm back with my polar bear friend. Do you want to read more of the story and find out what happens next in A Boy and a Bear in a Boat? Okay then, let's go. So remember in the last chapter we read, the boy had offended the bear because he told him he was smelly, and then he went to bed, and that's where we've got up to. So the next chapter is called Alone. The boy awoke. He had slept well, but he still felt awful. His body ached from another night on wooden planks, and his stomach was demanding to be fed. But most of all, the boy felt bad about calling the bear smelly. He lay still for a moment, plucking up the courage to say sorry, trying to choose the kindest and best words. Once he was satisfied he'd got them right, he started blurting them out as he uncurled himself from beneath the blankets and clumsily rose to his feet, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Sorry I said that you stink, bear. I mean, you do a bit, but it's not your fault, and I bet there are bears that smell even worse, and I shouldn't have pretended to be sick because you didn't really make me want to be sick. Much. Hardly at all. And anyway, it's not really your fault. I guess all bears smell a bit stinky. I'm just not used to it. And I guess when you're a bear yourself, you don't really notice it. So he was standing now and faced forward. The bear wasn't there. Ridiculously, the boy looked behind himself. Then he stared forward again, making absolutely sure. The bear really wasn't there. The oars were pulled in and his seat was empty, and in every direction, and the boy checked all of them at least twice, there was nothing to be seen except sea and sky. He found the bear's telescope and checked again, but it made no difference. In a daze, the boy slumped down onto his seat, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Perhaps the bear had been eaten up by a sea monster and the boy had slept through the whole thing. How awful! But no, that couldn't be it. There weren't really any sea monsters. It was just something the bear had made up, wasn't it? Maybe he'd been kidnapped by pirates. They still existed, apparently. The boy had seen it on the news. They didn't have eye patches, wooden legs, or parrots these days, but they were still pirates, apparently, and they were definitely baddies. But surely the bear would have put up a fight. And pirates fighting a bear? That would have to be pretty noisy. The boy was sure he would have woken up. So the bear must have just abandoned ship to teach the boy a lesson. Either he'd got so angry he'd just swum off, or the boy could hardly stand to think the thought, but it wormed its way into his head just the same. Maybe the bear had been so upset and angry that he drowned himself. Surely he couldn't be that sensitive. Bears aren't sensitive, are they? But he definitely wasn't there, and the boy had ruled out monsters and pirates. The boy felt a lot more awful now than he had done when he woke. He hadn't been happy to be stuck on a small boat in the middle of nowhere with a big, smelly bear, but it was a lot better than being stuck on a small boat in the middle of nowhere entirely on his own. And even if the bear was irritating and smelly and infuriating, the boy still quite liked him, really. Mostly. The boy felt at once as if he were entirely empty and as if he might explode. His head felt sick and his stomach felt dizzy. Tears and rage and sadness welled within him, and he knew that at any moment they would all start pouring noisily out of him. Then with a wet splop, a large sponge landed at his feet. The boy stared at it. Then he stared at the bear, bobbing in the water a few feet from the bow. "I brought you a present from the bottom," he said. "Have you seen a real live sponge before?" The boy was so amazingly relieved to see him that, naturally, all he could do was to shout angrily. "What do you think you're doing? You were gone for ages. I didn't know where you were. Do you know how worried I've been?" Then he shut up, partly because he sounded exactly like his mum, and when she said those things, he always told her not to make a fuss, and partly because he suddenly needed to concentrate on not falling over. The bear was climbing back into the boat, which dipped sharply to one side as a result. "I thought you'd be pleased," said the bear, rather tetchily, as he flopped wetly over the side. "I was having a bath so as to be more fragrant to your delicate young nostrils, but I can see the effort has gone unappreciated. And I dived right down to the bottom to get you that sponge. That's not easy, you know. Luckily, I'm good at holding my breath." The bear struck what was meant to be a heroic pose, but it was rather undermined by his petulance and the way his fur looked funny when it was wet. "Big lungs," he said proudly, as puddles formed at his feet and drew watery lines along the cracks between the planks. "Aren't you meant to be rowing this thing?" said the boy. It was meant to sound angry, but he was smiling a little as he said it. The next chapter is called Inclement Weather. So inclement is the adjective here. I wonder if inclement means the weather's going to be nice and warm and dry, or horrible and wet and cold. What do you think? Let's talk about it again at the end of the chapter. The bear rode and the boy sat. The boy wasn't sure at first if he could even be bothered with his usual morning look around. But then he didn't really have anything better to do, and he had a long day to fill. So he stood and stretched and looked out over the back of the boat and away to each side and saw only a cloudless blue sky over a featureless blue sea. He decided to take the forward view by surprise. He braced himself, hunched his shoulders, scrunched his eyes shut, and crouched just a little as he counted silently to 3. And then he pounced. He whirled around, jumping on the spot and turning himself to face forward, opening his eyes wide and shouting, "Ha!" just for good measure. The bear, who had been in his usual happy daydreaming state as he rode, leaped inches from his seat in surprise. Then, as he bumped back down, he lost his stroke. One of the oars came up out of the water and skimmed over the surface, while the other dug too deeply in. He hit himself hard in the belly with the handle of the one oar, knocking the breath from him, while the other came loose from his grip. He doubled over in pain, but quickly sprang back up to catch at the loose oar as it slid away. Flustered, he lunged at it clumsily, doubling himself over once again and just managing to catch it in time. Still hunched over and a little winded, he looked up at the boy, angry words gathering behind his teeth, jostling to get out. But he saw that the boy had a surprised expression on his face and was pointing over the bear's head at something. He looked round. There was a cloud. It wasn't a big cloud. It wasn't an interesting shape. It wasn't beautiful, but it was there, breaking the monotony of the sky, a light grey blot amid the flat blue. It was something different, and it had surprised and pleased the boy because of that. The bear threw it a glance and then mustered a scowl for the boy. Then he started rowing again and cheered up almost instantly. They were rowing straight towards the cloud, and as the day passed, it grew slowly bigger and darker. "It looks like a storm's coming," said the boy. The bear turned for a fresh look. "No, not a storm," he said. "It might get a bit inclement, perhaps a drop or two of rain, but not a storm, no." Half an hour later, hard rain lashing at his face, the boy took this up with the bear. "I thought you said there wasn't going to be a storm," he shouted. The bear gave him a puzzled look. This isn't a storm," he said. "This is just a bit of rain." The Harriet leaned over alarmingly as a wave struck it hard on one side. The bear casually dipped an oar into the water, turning them to ride more comfortably over another even larger wave. "But it's all wrong," said the boy. "What do you mean?" said the bear. "Rain is meant to go this way," said the boy, waving a frantic hand straight up and down. "Not this way." Now he waggled the same hand horizontally. "Ah, yes, there is a bit of a breeze too, now you mention it," said the bear. The boy gave him an exasperated stare. The bear stared firmly back. "I've been in storms, lad," he said. "I've been in real storms, and this isn't one, believe me." The boy said nothing more. He was still annoyed, but he could see that the bear was genuinely untroubled by the conditions. He steered the boat expertly, riding the waves with ease, showing little more concentration or effort than when the waters were calm. He knew what he was doing. "Don't worry," he said. "This is just a little squall." He glanced up and around, seemingly oblivious to the lashing rain and the biting wind. "It'll soon be—" With eerie suddenness, the rain stopped, the clouds dissolved, and the sea flattened. "Over," said the bear. The boy wiped a hand across his face, clearing wet hair from his eyes, and looked round in amazement. In all directions he saw a clear blue sky over a calm blue sea. It was as if the squall had never happened. He almost wondered if he had dreamed the whole thing. Only the ankle-deep water in the bottom of the Harriet, with the rubber duck now floating on top of it, told him otherwise. After the bear had filled his water bottles from the rainwater and they had both taken a long drink, the boy borrowed the kettle to bail with, and a warm sun set about drying out their sodden clothes and fur. "See," said the bear, his snout turned up to the sky and a happy grin on his face, "it turned out lovely." The boy, tired and wet and hungry, didn't quite agree, but then they shared the last of the chocolate and he cheered up a bit. He looked through the comic again. He had it out on the middle bench to dry and had to turn its soggy pages very carefully to avoid pulling them free from their staples. It took him a long time to get to the end this way. And then, of course, the end wasn't the end anyway. So, were you right with your prediction about the meaning of the word inclement? It means cold or wet and not very nice when talking about the weather. So they've survived through the storm, and the next chapter is called The Very Last Sandwich, which we'll read tomorrow. Well done for all your hard work again today, Year 2. Me and my polar bear friend will be back tomorrow to find out what happens next in A Boy and a Bear in a Boat. So see you then. Bye.